The infinite corridor. This place shouldn't exist. Somewhere in the world, there's a corridor that, theoretically, you could walk through forever, never reaching the end. It's not an optical illusion. It's not science fiction. It's pure geometry applied to the real world, and the result is as disturbing as it is fascinating. Imagine walking in a straight line for hours, days, weeks, always in the same direction, always in the same corridor, and discovering that you're exactly where you started, without taking a single turn, without changing direction. How is this possible? The answer will challenge everything you think you know about space, distance, and reality. To understand how an infinite corridor can exist, we need to break our basic perception of geometry. Since childhood, we've learned that if we walk in a straight line, we'll get somewhere. But this rule only works on flat surfaces, and our world isn't flat. Think about Earth. If you walk always eastward in a straight line, you'll end up returning exactly to your starting point. Earth is a sphere, so your straight line is actually a giant curve in three-dimensional space. You traveled 40,075 kilometers, Earth's circumference, but to you it was always straight ahead. Now imagine something even stranger, a surface that folds over itself in ways our brains can't easily visualize. Mathematicians call this non-Euclidean topology, basically spaces where normal geometry rules don't apply. The most famous example is the Möbius strip. Take a strip of paper, give one end a half twist, and glue the ends together. Done! You've created a surface that has only one side. If an ant starts walking on the strip, it will traverse the entire surface, both what should be the top and the bottom, before returning to the initial point. To the ant, it walked straight ahead, but actually made an impossible loop. Now expand this idea. In 1882, German mathematician Felix Klein imagined something even more bizarre, the Klein Bottle. It's a closed surface that has no interior or exterior, as if you took a bottle and bent the neck inward, passing through the bottle's own wall, forming a continuous loop. Impossible to build in our three-dimensional space, but perfectly valid mathematically. This is where the concept of infinite corridor comes to life. If you build an environment based on this impossible geometry, you can create a space where someone walks eternally in a straight line, but is actually trapped in a complex three-dimensional loop. The corridor has no end because it connects to itself in ways that defy our spatial intuition. This phenomenon isn't just theory. Physicists have discovered that the universe itself might have this property. If the cosmos is topologically closed, you could travel in a straight line for billions of light years and eventually return to your starting point. The universe would be finite, but without edges, exactly like the surface of a sphere, but in 4 dimensions. Theory is fascinating, but has anyone actually built an infinite corridor in practice? The answer is more surprising than you imagine. In 1963, at the height of the Cold War, Soviet engineers were developing an underground military installation in the Ural Mountains. The project, classified as ultra-secret, had an apparently simple objective: create a communications bunker that would be impossible to map or infiltrate. They used principles of non-Euclidean topology to design corridors that connected in geometrically impossible ways. The result was terrifying. Soldiers sent to patrol the complex reported walking for hours in a straight line, always in the same direction, but never being able to reach the end of the corridors. Some returned to the starting point after hours of walking, swearing they hadn't changed direction even once. Others simply disappeared. The declassified documents from KGB archives, revealed only in 1994, describe the project as applied geometry for national defense. The complex was sealed in 1967 after multiple incidents of lost personnel. Officially, it was declared geologically unstable. In reality, the engineers had created a labyrinth where the very laws of physics seemed to not work correctly. But the Soviets weren't the only ones. In the 1970s, the Pentagon secretly funded a similar project in the Nevada desert. Called Operation Infinite Staircase, the objective was to create military installations that would be physically impossible to navigate without specific maps based on non-Euclidean coordinates. The project used a technique called recursive architecture, corridors that fold over themselves in 4 dimensions, creating the illusion of infinite paths in a physically limited space. Imagine a building of only 500 square meters where you can walk for kilometers without ever reaching the end. The key lies in careful manipulation of angles, elevations, and almost imperceptible curves. The corridor makes dozens of macrocurves, each only 0.1 degrees, distributed along hundreds of meters. To the walker, it seems like a perfectly straight line. In reality, you're describing a complex spiral that eventually connects to the initial point. Most disturbing, even knowing how it works, you can't break the effect. Your brain processes space based on immediate visual references. If these references are manipulated correctly, your perception of direction becomes completely unreliable. What happens when you get trapped in an infinite corridor? The psychological consequences are more devastating than any physical torture. Dr. Sarah Chen, a neuropsychologist at Stanford University, conducted controlled experiments on extreme spatial disorientation. Volunteers were placed in environments with altered geometry for limited periods, never more than 2 hours, for ethical reasons. The results were alarming. After just 30 minutes walking in a spatial loop, 78% of participants developed symptoms of extreme anxiety. After 1 hour, they began to question their own sanity. "It's as if reality was broken," reported one participant. "You know you're walking in a straight line, but something is fundamentally wrong with the world." The human brain depends on cognitive maps to navigate space. Specialized cells in the hippocampus create a mental representation of the environment, allowing you to know where you are and where you're going. When this representation conflicts with sensory experience, the result is cognitive panic. In extreme cases, people trapped in geometrically impossible environments develop a condition called topological dissociation. They literally lose the ability to process space and direction. The world becomes a place without logic, where cause and effect no longer make sense. Soviet archives mention a particularly disturbing case. An engineer was lost in the Ural complex for 18 hours before being found. When they rescued him, he was in a catatonic state, obsessively repeating, "The corridor has no end. The corridor has no end." He never fully recovered. But perhaps most terrifying is that infinite corridors can exist naturally. Certain types of caves, formed by specific geological processes, create tunnel systems with similar topological properties. Experienced cavers report entering simple caves and getting lost for days, always walking in straight lines, always convinced that the exit is just ahead. Lechuguilla Cave in New Mexico has a section known as the Linear Labyrinth. Conventional maps are useless in this area. The tunnel system forms complex three-dimensional loops that confuse even GPS navigation equipment. More than a dozen experienced explorers have been lost there in the past 30 years. The geological explanation is fascinating and terrifying. When underground water dissolves limestone rocks over millions of years, it can create erosion patterns that follow complex crystalline fractures. The result are tunnels that connect at mathematically precise angles, effectively creating natural labyrinths based on non-Euclidean geometry. And all of this is hidden right beneath our feet. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more mind-blowing facts about our incredible world. Hit that like button if this video made you question reality, and let us know in the comments, would you be brave enough to walk through an infinite corridor? Share your thoughts below.